ask you, I mean, first off, have you seen any of these close? I know it's a little bit more rare. Have you done any assumable mortgage closings?
So assumable mortgages are not new to the industry. This is actually something that we've had in the past. And most often where I've seen it almost utilized, not quite, because I've only had a couple of occasions and they've never actually closed. They were all familial transactions. The two that got pretty close, the reason that we haven't seen it used is because the rates have historically been low for, over a decade. So even when the rates were at 5%, somebody that had an assumable mortgage would have presumably had a loan with an interest rate higher than that because it predated. And we've been on a downward trajectory for quite some time with the mortgage interest rates. Yeah. So I feel like for the first time, we really do have the perfect opportunity for folks who are in nice, young 30-year mortgages, right? They're not even 5 or 10 years deep. They just took out these mortgages that are 2 or sub 3 or way low than 4. And now they're going to be selling the properties to prospective buyers who will get way more bang for their buck if they're able to take over those interest rates and those actual payments. And that's essentially what, at its very most basic term, will allow the buyer to do, is to step into the loan shoes of the current owner at the rate and term that they have to pay.
Now, where are people getting these second mortgages? Like we know, like Movement Mortgage, or more of a traditional mortgage brokerage. They don't do that kind of portfolio loan. I mean, take a second position on a mortgage. Where have you seen people trying to pull these second mortgages from?
Right now, I haven't seen anybody offering, aside with the exception of Rhode Island Housing or someone who's doing almost like a subprime. I haven't seen any secondary mortgages on the market currently. Most of the reading I'm seeing is talking about the idea of a buyer bringing the cash for the differential if there's a big equity position. But we all know that that's not realistic. So what we're talking about, let's just say fundamentally, the house is going to sell on the market for $400,000. The homeowner has a loan for $300,000 at 2.5%. Well, the buyer wants to pay $300,000, but they want to take over that $200,000 mortgage. There's a $100,000 equity gap or differential that they have to cover. Whether they can get secondary financing or they have the opportunity to bring the cash to the closing is really the next level. And there are so many layers of the conversation that are specific to the investor of the individual loan that's being assumed that it's almost impossible for me to say one size is going to fit all, because it is going to be lender driven for the application of the assumability. A second lien holder or second mortgage holder is essentially taking just that. It's a second priority position. So the first lien holder will remain in first lien position in the event of a default. That mortgage holder would be entitled to foreclose and then recoup all of its funds. And it's only anybody behind that that's junior in nature, second, third, et cetera, that would be able to get funds after a foreclosure. So it just kind of lines up in order. If there was a foreclosure, the first lien holder gets paid in full, second lien holder gets whatever's left, third lien holders, probably not getting anything. So there is still a bigger risk for a second lien holder as a function of they're not in that priority position.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're not going to see lenders who aren't agreeable to second lien positions, especially if there's not going to be 100% equity stake that's being taken. One of the things that we have to talk about as far as this assumability is the possibility of the inventory influx and the market shifting so that it may become a buyer's market. And then really sellers would want to be marketing the idea of, hey, I have an assumable property because, as a seller, you have to differentiate yourself. And frankly, there are a lot of assumable loans out there because there's a ton of FHA, there's a ton of VA, and there's some USDA. And those are the ones that offer the assumability in a much more, volume.